So let's start applying our same gradient. So right now this is a path. So you see how it's path and it's not outlined yet. So when we apply, if we make it a little bit bigger, it gets really skinny. If we make it small, it gets really thick. So we need to go ahead and outline that path. So I'm going to go up to Object, Path, Outline Stroke, but once it's outlined, that's it. You won't be able to change the thickness of it very easily. So just kind of be ready for that, to be committed to that thickness. So same thing with these little squares. Let's go ahead and go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke. So those are now objects instead of a path. And so I'm going to go ahead and select all. And let's go ahead and take the eyedropper tool. We'll be able to sample our gradient. And then let's go ahead and get our gradient tool and change the direction of it. So we can have it be purple then to blue, or we can have it be the other way. I kind of like it purple down to blue. I'm going to leave it at that. These are individual lines. If you want one to be changed shorter than the other, you have minute control over each one of these little objects that we selected. Not sure if we want to make those a different color to really bring out the check boxes. We can go to our swatches and make it a solid orange color, something that's really going to pop out. Maybe keep it a bright green. It's pretty dynamic. Just depends on the look we want to go for. So let's say we want to create some action icons. So for instance, there's an addition icon, there's a subtraction icon, something they're doing on the website where they're going to be interacting with something. So let's create a few icons that help the user kind of have a symbol for addition and subtraction of certain objects. So for example, I'm going to do a circle, and I'm going to apply a thickness to it. Let's do like a light gray, switch to stroke, and do kind of the same thickness as we were using with the tool over here, the icon over there. Make it a little more thick. Let's say I want to do an addition sign, so it'll be as simple as taking a rectangle tool, switching that to fill, and then I'm going to copy and paste that same rectangle tool, and I'm going to go to Object, and I want to make it, I can always rotate it, or I can do it perfectly by going to Transform Rotate, and I want to rotate this 90 degrees. So now I'll be able to make a perfect addition sign with these two objects. And what I want to do is I want to make sure they're aligned horizontally, but I also want to make sure they're aligned in other ways as too. So I'm going to do all the center alignments. So that's a perfect alignment, horizontal and vertical. So I just made kind of like a little addition little icon. Let's do a little iPhone icon to indicate maybe a cell phone number or to download a mobile app. Let's just do like a little iPhone or Android phone type outline. So now that we know some of these tools, let's start going a lot quicker. Let's go ahead and get our rounded rectangle tool. I'm just going to go ahead and create a rounded shape. This will be our phone. We can go up to shape and maybe reduce the size of the corners so it's not as dramatic. I'm just going to do that manually by cutting that in half. That's probably about the size. You can go ahead and look at a phone for a reference or bring up a photo of a phone so you can get some reference. Let's go ahead and draw a rectangle box on top. This is going to be our screen. We can make it a new phone and not have the button. Or we can do an older phone and have a little button icon down there. So let's do an older phone. Let's go ahead and grab just a circle. I'm just doing shapes at this point, not even working with the pen tool yet. So just like that, we have a little iPhone icon. But I want to make this punched out. So I want to put this icon on any colored background and not have this white shape here. I'm going to punch this white shape out. So for example, let's go ahead and I'm just doing this to show you an example. Let's do a red color, just sending this to the back, arrange, send to back. So right now I want that red to show through. I want this to not be a white thing. So how do we do that? Two things. We can do the Pathfinder tool. We could select our two white objects and group those together. And then we're going to select our object below, and we're going to punch it out. So we can go to Pathfinder. Let's see, do I have Pathfinder listed? Nope. So let's go to Window and find it. There it is, Pathfinder. And we can do, let's see if we can't do an exclude. There we go. We punched it out by just going to Pathfinder and doing the exclude option. Or you could do what I like to do. If you have the option available, do the shape builder tool, and then you can just hold down the option key. You're going to switch into subtraction mode. You'll see the little subtraction sign, and you're going to click once to delete the screen, and then you're going to delete the button. And so now we have our icon that's ready to go. We're going to go ahead and sample our gradient color we've been using. Go to the gradient tool and find the right gradient flow. And just like that, we have a little icon. So we can adapt some of these little things to indicate text on the phone. Maybe it's a chat. We could do bubbles. So that's like reading an article. Or I could do little chat bubbles. So let's go ahead and grab the rounded rectangle tool. We're going to create a couple of text bubbles. Well, let's not make such a dramatic curve. So I'm going to go up to shape up here. Kind of reduce that a tad. Let's half that. Let's do a 0.5. So there's our little chat icon. We can even take our pen tool. This is where we finally grab our pen tool. I'm just going to create a little triangle, which is going to indicate our chat bubble. And I could take my direct selection tool and make it a smaller little chat bubble. And then all I'm going to do is go to Object, Group, or shortcut, right-click, Group. And I'm going to copy and paste this object, and I want to flip it around. So I'm going to go to Object, Transform, and I'm going to reflect it. So I'm just going to reflect it. Oops. That wasn't a true reflect. That's why. Let's change that to 90. Usually default it's by 90 degrees. You can go ahead and apply your gradients to this as well. Or you can make that gray, light gray. So you add a little more contrast to the piece. So that could indicate chatting, or make that a little bit bigger. It's more obvious. Remember, we got to make things as simple as possible with little small icons. And I'm going to make sure those are aligned left. So there's our little phone icon. We can also do a tablet. So let's say we do a tablet. We're going to make it a lot thicker, maybe about like an iPad Pro or something. It's going to be really thick. Change this. It's less thick. Let's do like a 0.06. Same thing, we're going to add a square screen. We're going to do like an iPad Pro and not have a bubble or a button. They got rid of the buttons. So there's like an iPad Pro. And you could grab our little icons here that indicate text, maybe an article. Maybe you could do a square that indicates a photo. And bring this down so we have the photo on the top like they're reading an article. Right? We're going to go ahead. We're going to do the same thing. We have this, let's go and make these really crazy colors. So we have this red object here, and we have our object here. We want to punch it out. We don't want to have that blue box. We want that to be transparent. So we're going to select both objects. I'm going to use the shape builder tool this time. I'm going to hold down Option key in Windows. I'll go ahead and put up what that is. I'm in subtraction mode. I'm just going to subtract the middle object and then go back and put our gradient back on this. Okay, to make this less busy, we can make this gray. So we don't have too many colored gradient things going on. We don't want to overwhelm people. Stretch this all the way across to look like they're reading an article. And just like that, we have a little tablet option. We can add a button if we want to make it an older tablet. So there's kind of our icons we created really quickly. Let's say we were ready to export our icons. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm personally going to make this decision. I just wanted to show you the drop shadow, but I'm personally going to remove that because I really want to keep this flat design. And flat design is when you don't really add a whole lot of shadows. And if you do, they're flat. They're not blurred like that. So I'm just going to keep them really simple. I just wanted to really show you how to do that. So I think I'm going to make the decision that these are nice and clean over here because I use gray. Let's make this gray as well because I think this icon is just too busy with everything being a gradient. Let's go ahead and select all of these options. And click the gray, and that simplifies that list quite a bit. We can also make the squares gray. Oops, I need to zoom in on that one. 1, 2, 3, eyedropper tool, gray. Now you just see the checkbox marks. Isn't that much more clean? We might need to darken that a little bit, but we'll mess with that another time. Okay, so I'm ready to export these icons. I'm going to go ahead and save. And I'm going to go ahead and go to export. I'm going to export as. We're going to do what I showed you earlier, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. So PNGs are great because they're going to have a transparent background. If you export as a JPEG, let me go ahead and bring up JPEG. If you export it as a JPEG, you'll have the white background connected with it. You won't be able to punch out that white background. So if you want to have the white parts of these artboards be transparent, which is what you're going to want, you could do a PNG. Just go ahead and make sure you click on artboards because it's going to export it and crop it according to the artboards. I'm going to export. I like to do high resolution, but with web, you want to make sure you keep your file size down. So I'm just going to go ahead and do 150 ppi. 300 is standard for print, but for web, it's 72. But with the invention of higher resolution screens, I don't mind pushing that number higher than 72 and doing like 150 to 300. So just work out with your web designer or whoever's going to be making this happen. Click OK. I'm just replacing the icons because I've already exported once. Here's all my digital icons. I'll go ahead and click on the PNGs. And they're all on transparent backgrounds, which is exactly what we wanted. So there you go. We just developed an entire icon set, and we'll be ready to do our next project.